Hey, Adam.
Yeah.
Are you an independent adult or are you a dependent adult?
I'm a strong, independent dude.
You are?
Doing my thing, yeah.
What about your hands? Are they independent of each other?
Not as much as I'd like them to be, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might come up today.
Oh, good. I'm Adam Ennis.
And I'm Peter
And
Martin.
you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music advice coming at you.
I mean, actually, I realized, Peter, I just missed an opportunity to quote all the Adams that are independent. Throw your hands up at me. I could have.
I could
that would have
see-
been. You throw these intros at me.
I know. Full disclosure,
Yeah.
we do not prep each other.
Oh, they know. We don't. They can tell.
We don't even prep ourselves. It's whatever. It's weird. It's really modeled after the way that I think a great jazz improviser is truly.
Yeah.
Solos. It's like, are you going to be open to the moments? Is something great happening?
Well, it's funny you say we don't even prep ourselves because I feel like our modus operandi, our MO, if you will, is
Whoa.
E
Plurius unum.
It's an ebb and flow. So
Yeah.
on occasions where there's no prep for anything that we ever do.
Yeah.
On any platform.
Prepless.
And then there are other occasions where there's a whiteboard full of
Preppy.
tasks, ideas,
Yeah. Get it?
criticisms.
Whiteboard. Preppy. Okay,
boy.
keep going.
and then we try that for a while, and then we're just like, no, that doesn't work. Let's
Right.
get no prep going back again. So,
Right.
but yeah, I feel like everybody who is listening and watching fully understands that.
But it really does remind me of that feeling of when you're soloing. And I don't always get to this, but I sometimes judge yeah, exactly. I judge my readiness to really be in the moment when it gets to the beginning of my solo, if I have no idea what I'm going to play and then I'm confident that something will pop into my brain or pop out of my hands or whatever. I don't even know how it happens. And then sometimes, it's like you end up sort of falling back on something typical. I always disappoint myself when I do that, even if it sounds good.
That's an opportunity, though, to change course then
Yeah.
when you fall back on something typical. But you're right. The worst thing you could do is have some kind of grand plan for your solo.
Right.
It's not going to go well.
Yeah, so it's don't have a grand plan, but also have a few things in your back pocket to pull out. And then don't judge yourself too much if you have to do that because
Totally.
the special moments, they're not special if they happen all the time.
That's right.
And then you get into that thing of trying to replicate it and then compare yourselves to other versions of yourself or other musicians or whatever, which we're going to be talking about.
We're going to be talking about
Yeah.
today. We got a great SpeakPipe
See, I'm segueing. I'm always a step.
you're
line.
at least 2 steps ahead.
What's happening, by the way? I was
2 steps ahead. That's major thirds, buddy. Which is a bit of a Easter egg for another episode coming up here.
Yeah.
What's happening is, there's a lot going on in Open Studio.
That's kind of what I was
land.
going to ask you about because
Yeah.
I was out of town for just a couple days.
Yeah.
And I know we've got. Oh wait, is this the week that Genius Chord warm-ups
So
is coming
yeah,
out?
this weekend, the weekend of June 15th, 2023.
Yes.
My new course for Open Studio Genius Chord warm-ups is coming out, which is really exciting because these are based on these little short warm-ups I've been doing on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Everywhere.
You're on TikTok?
Yeah, I am officially back on TikTok for
Yes.
some reason.
You look like you appear to be a TikTok jazz star,
Well,
which henceforth was not a thing, but now it is.
I don't know about that, but we've had a lot of great response to these specific warm-ups. And
Yeah.
we've actually talked about these on the podcast, Peter. This is that thing that we do where it's you can practice multiple things at one time, especially with something like an etude, which is what these really are. We call them warm-ups, but they're really short etudes to sort of get your mind.
They sound good.
They do sound, well, that's the crucial
feel
thing about
good.
no one wants to play an etude that sounds bad.
No,
you want to play something that sounds good. So these warm-ups are sort of designed to get your musical brain moving, to get your hands and your body warm, to get you sort of ready to play the piano. And they're based on the most popular one and the classic one that we call the standard.
Yep.
Is where it's you just take diatonic seventh chords in any key, up and down, and then you practice getting to those diatonic seventh chords,
Right.
secondary dominants to each one, and then we do different inversions.
a little connecting the dots, perhaps.
That Open Studio moo, practice tritone subs. so that you can get and then different ways to structure the voicing. It's great. So this is the Genius chord warm-ups. It's not I'm a genius at all. That's not what that means.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Does the student become a genius and you're already a genius?
The student might,
or is the student already a genius and you're trying to teach
you're
up
missing
to
you're missing the whole boat here. No,
who's the genius?
The warm-ups of the genius part, because they're dealing with like up to 3 or 4 things in these one very simple, very easy to play.
Well, that makes sense, because otherwise it would have been called geniuses with an apostrophe chord warm-ups, but it's not. It's genius chord warm-up.
So if you're an Open Studio member, that's going to be on your dashboard this weekend.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Then let me know what you think about it too. Like, hit me up. I know, like, I've had so much positive feedback for these little individual ones.
Yep.
The chorus, I take you through all 12 keys, literally. Because at the end of the other ones, of the short ones, I'm always like, just take it through all 12 keys and you're good to go. Well, in the course, we actually do walk you through 12
right,
keys.
and you slow it down, full PDFs, ebook, the whole thing. Yeah, and so this is something that I don't know if you've noticed. We've been getting a lot of comments. We've been getting several comments, like especially on the shorts, especially on your genius level shorts, where it's just like, slow it down, whatever. And okay, we got to explain something to the folks out.
The 2 comments are slow it down and where's the PDF, and that's what the course,
that's what the course is. But this is not a bait and switch that we're doing.
No.
YouTube, and I think it's only YouTube, gives us a very strict
59.9 seconds.
Yeah, like, because we've made some you can't do 60 seconds.
No,
you can do anything up to, like, literally, like if you go 1 frame above 60 seconds,
they will not count it as a short.
So we're trying to get a lot of information, and really kind of show. We rarely have time to go through all 12 keys, but there is a way to slow it down if you Google it.
But you know what? I love this challenge. It actually, like, from a content creator standpoint, it reminds me a lot of when you get half a chorus just solo. Right. Like you're playing in a more pop setting with a singer. You get half a chorus.
Love that.
You got to shoot your shot.
That's right.
You don't want to overplay. You still want to build something. You want it to
restricted
be tasteful.
soloing.
It is. And so these little shorts that we're making, because I'm used to making 20-minute long YouTube videos, 25-minute long lessons. So these little 60-second shorts are a fun way to try to get some really useful things in the short amount of time.
And you are a master of it.
Oh, buddy.
But who's even more of a
Why are you bringing this up? Oh, because you're transitioning now to the
we're not there,
episode.
because I have one more question about what's happening at Open Studio, because I unfortunately missed this. We have
Let's
a new
put a pin in that, though, because I want to address
definitely
that.
put a pin in it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are doing a thing called mentor sessions now. Is that the permanent title? We like that title.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, we stole that title.
From
we're not going to talk about from where.
Okay.
We're going to talk about, well, there you go. But it's a cool title.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
But the idea is that once a week, the whole community gets together, the whole community, whoever wants to. It's not a requirement, but a lot of folks have been joining in live on Zoom or some other kind of format that we have. It's usually Zoom. But we gather together with one of our teachers. Often it's you. This week it's actually going to be me. I believe on Friday. But last week we've had Emma Cohen. We've had Fred Hurt. We've had a lot of different folks.
Yeah, Taylor Eichste was just on one. We've had all of our Open Studio teachers, Chris Parks,
and just some randos too, though.
Some randos coming in,
really good randos.
Last week we had Warren Wolf. Warren did a great session.
That's what I want to know about. Yeah,
on rhythm. But he started off the session sort of giving his history. So for those of you who don't know, Warren Wolf is probably one of the greatest mallet players walking around the earth right now. He undoubtedly is, right? Like he is such a great vibes player, but he's also a great pianist, bassist, drummer. He can play every instrument. But he's
a savant. Is that the correct usage of the term?
He was definitely a prodigy when he was younger. And he talked about his upbringing a little bit, his sort of musical upbringing.
Yeah.
So, his father had him practicing 90 minutes a day, every day. And he would spend like 30 minutes on jazz, 30 minutes on classical, 30 minutes on like pop music and R&B and stuff like that. And he did that for years when he was a small child.
Yeah.
And that's how you get to be Warren Wolf. That's how you get to be
consistency.
And he's
and you think about people. We talk about like practice. You must have practiced 8 hours a day. You must have done this. That's fine, but better to practice 90 minutes a day every day for your whole life.
I mean, that's a tremendous amount of practice, especially for a youngster. But
think about it, youngsters. Okay, now I'm gonna call out some parents today.
Okay,
right now.
Okay,
some of these young.
Boy, this guy's
millennial parents.
Okay.
I mean, I guess young parents now. Parents of young kids are generally
undoubtedly Gen Z parents.
Well, that's true. That's happening now too. I mean, just like so, we screwed up a lot of things in our generation as parents, for sure.
And there's for yourself.
Well, no. Well, the verdict's still out on you.
That's true.
So far, so good. Big shout out to Heather.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But the idea that 90 minutes a day, how much screen time, TikTok time are these kids spending easily on average. 90 minutes?
Yeah.
So why can't you be practicing mallets and stuff? What a great time that we came up. Warren came up at a time when there wasn't those pulls. And I know it's hard, but 90 minutes shouldn't be a lot of time to be practicing something that's engaging your brain and your spiritual side and your musical and your creative side. What a gift.
I think the fact that you said spiritual side is something that is missing in like the screen time that you just aren't getting. That I do think that.
And I get it. It's entertainment. They're not watching TV as much as we did.
It's just so, and not to sound like, listen, we're not going to be able to stop this, but it is so different. It is just it's a different way to put your attention. The intensity of our attention on screens for us, not just our kids, but even for us, is so much different. Like, do you remember the first time your spouse got a smartphone? And you were like, why are you staring at that thing so much and not looking at me?
Right.
Like, it's a different vibe.
My spouse still stares at me with loving eyes.
Oh, well, lucky you. No, but...
when I'm holding my phone up
you're holding your phone. No, but
Look at this, honey.
It is... this is a whole other discussion, but like the sort of like intensity level of our attention is totally different and true for kids as well.
Right. Oh, I just noticed something.
Yeah.
We have a beloved feature that has resurfaced here on the You'll Hear podcast. Caleb Cam. Producer Cam.
Let's see it.
Oh, hey now. All right.
You got a mic?
Easy come, easy go. No mic.
Just a cam?
No mic. Just
he said, I'll translate. No mic, thumbs up or thumbs down. All right. Well, we look forward to, leave us a comment on YouTube if you want to get some, man, we're not even in the introduction yet. We're not done with the introduction.
11 and a half minutes in. We're still introducing.
Okay, just to let you guys know how this works. In our pre-production meeting that we occasionally have, Adam did tell me, he's like, okay, if we don't get to the meat of it, I'm going to mention something. I'm going to be checking the time. And you were. So that was good.
I didn't do a very good job of steering us away from getting off track.
No,
listen, relevant discussions are fun. That's what a podcast should all be about. It's just, and this is for another episode where we talk about YouTube comments. I think we should do an episode where we just address a lot of YouTube comments because it'd be fun.
Do we get comments?
Oh, we get lots of comments. But one of them is always like when people come into our YouTube videos thinking they're going to be tight tutorials, and it's just you and me BSing for 25 minutes.
Like, get to the content.
So much waffling. It's like that's the meat of the podcast is waffling.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, so just to put a pin in the mentor session things, I'm looking forward to doing mine. I'm actually going to do it as a sort of structure. Sometimes we structure it around a theme. Sometimes we do Q&A. You had a fantastic Q&A. And look, these are always available too. Like if you're a member and you can't join in live, it's right there, which is cool. It's fun to be there live because you can chat and kind of go back and forth and experience it. But I'm going to do mine on hand independence because I've been thinking about it. I've been getting we're always getting questions about that. I think it's a little bit of a mysterious area.
That's great.
So we're going to be talking about that, but it's just a fun thing. I get excited on Fridays.
Yeah, the Friday mentor sessions are amazing. And those are for all Open Studio members, not just Open Studio Pro folks, but the entire Open Studio community. If you are a member, you can come to these Friday sessions. I know we have a lot of Open Studio members that listen to this podcast, so jump in tomorrow on Peter's mentor session.
And what is it, 2 p.m.?
2 p.m. Eastern.
2 p.m. Eastern. And look, we have a very special feature too because it's 2 p.m. on a Friday. A lot of folks work, so depending on what your time zone, if you're in the West Coast of the U.S., it's earlier. Europe is later. Asia is much later. But we have a feature where if you want to kick off work early to watch the mentor session, to take off early from your job, we will write you a note authorizing it.
That's
right, Caleb? We can do that, right? Is that thumbs up or thumbs down on that? He said Caleb will sign it as producer of said mentor session and deliver to your boss.
That's right. And maybe we'll even have we might have
certificate of completion.
Yeah, all our Open Studio artists, Ron Carter, Christian McBride, they'll all sign it. We'll forge it if we have to, but you will.
I like how you went with Maestro first. That's good because that's the only signature you need.
I figure that's the person that their boss would seem like, oh, okay.
Okay, if Ron Carter
says it's okay, it's okay.
All right, so what are we talking about today? Are we going to listen to a SpeakPipe per time?
Yeah, we've got a voice message from Mari here. So this is a SpeakPipe. This is what we speak into the pipe here. You can go to you'llhearit.com and you can ask us a question. This is from just a few days ago from Mari, and this is a very good question.
Hello. I have a question for you guys about bitterness, because I wonder if you have any advice on how to deal with that in this quite competitive workforce when colleagues or friends are having more success than you at the moment. And it's not really a nice feeling to have, and it's not really a feeling that I want other people to know that I have either. So thank you so much for your great podcast. I listen to it almost every day. See you.
Yeah, Mari, that's totally common. You should know this idea of comparing yourself to others and how do I measure up. That's the human condition, is what you're describing. It's very difficult to shake, and so you're not alone on this. Everybody deals with this feeling of like, well, why are they doing so well? And I wish I was doing this. This enviousness, this jealousy that can come up. It is totally natural. And
it's also called feeling jelly. That's how some
feeling
people
a little
refer to it.
jelly. Yeah, it's totally natural. Happens to literally everybody. If someone says they never feel like that, they're probably, or have never felt like that, they're likely lying, because it just is part of our makeup as people. But there are some things that you can definitely do that, especially Mari sounds pretty young. I'm just guessing by her voice, but you and I, we're not super young and have been around the block on this for a while. And I'm assuming you've had to deal with these kind of things. I know, like you've talked about when you were younger.
Yes.
Your peers doing things that you wish you were doing. I've had the same feeling. And even today, Mari, like Peter was just razzing me a little bit about someone having a 600,000 view short. So this happens even as we're making Open Studios stuff.
Well, to be fair, somebody on Open Studio
on
our channel.
One of our artists, Christian McBride, has had a short that is our #1 viewed video, and that used to be my spot with the Sugar Chords video. And so, I compare myself to that, and there are healthy ways of using that feeling that you have. The first thing you want to do is to really not try to block that out. So you say, I don't want people to know that feeling. So you should understand, people know that you have this feeling. Like, you can't fake not having it. It's hard to suppress, and it actually makes it worse when you try to suppress it.
Right.
So the first step for anything like this is to really try to feel that feeling and try to investigate that feeling. Like, what does that feeling actually physically feel like? The feeling of like, this person is doing something I want to be doing, or why am I not in the place I should be? What does it actually feel like in your body?
Yeah.
This is like a mindfulness technique that's been around
That you
forever,
invented, right?
cross-cultural, is to just feel the feeling physically. Because that helps you to kind of put a place, put a location to it, put an actual feeling to it,
and maybe pull a little bit of power from it.
You 100% pull power from it. That's why you do that. Is when you acknowledge it, when you accept it, when you try to feel your way through it, it takes away the sting big time.
Right.
You don't ruminate on it. You don't swirl out. You don't get stuck on that feeling of inadequacy or jealousy or envy or wanting to be somewhere you're not, which again is going to happen. It's never going to go away. It always happens. Yeah. But learning to, first of all, be like, oh, there's that feeling. Of course it's here again. This is why it would be happening. But you can actually use that as a little bit of motivation. Like, so when I think about Christian McBride passing me for Open Studios #1 viewed YouTube video.
What? Let me check. Is it? Yep. He's still there.
By like 100,000 views. Thanks, bud. Thanks. No, I don't anymore. I don't take that personally. Like, you have to realize that that feeling it can become a personal attack on yourself, where it's like, I am not good enough. I am not doing well. That's not true. Like, what you're making is not like popping off at the same time as something else or someone else. It has nothing to do with you as a person. Right. So it really is not a personal thing for me. Now it's just like, okay, well, why does Christian McBride, why does that video doing so well? What can I learn from that? And what can I do? What is it? Is it because of what he's teaching? Is it how he's teaching it? Is it the camera angles? Is it the sound? Is it just because he's got a great vibe about him? That's probably it, because he's such a charismatic person. So some of that stuff I can just accept as like, oh, you know what? Like, that's what is happening now. I have my own thing. I'm just going to work on my own thing. I'm going to learn from this and move on. But really, what you don't want to do is just like try to suppress the feeling and ignore it, or pretend like it's not there. Don't do that.
No, that's such I think a balanced and mature and honest way of dealing with it in a positive way. What you just described specifically with how you do that, and can be so beneficial to your growth and to your connection with something bigger. I mean, we talk about these concepts and it can get a little bit, wishy-washy and like, oh, of course we all want to be connected to something bigger, but we really can use these things. I was thinking about, this can be, and first of all, big shout out to Mari for asking this question and being honest. It sounds like she's really done that first step of like identifying this, and even saying she doesn't want others to see this in her. So like she's sort of wanting to deal with this issue, I think, for the right reasons, it sounds like to me, you know.
Totally.
And as you said, if she's younger, whatever, certainly age can help.
Yeah.
But we also see a lot of bitter, not competitive.
Age can also hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not, you can't just be like, oh,
older.
when I get older, it's like, it gets easier to kind of get that mindset because you've just had experience with dealing with these things. But if you haven't been able to like go through the mechanics of doing it in a positive way, as you described, it won't just automatically come, but you'll get more sets and reps and opportunities to try it.
Anytime you feel it, use that as a rep. Use it as a practice session to practice like, oh, here's this feeling of bitterness again. I'm not going to let this, you know, grab me. I'm going to notice it. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to accept that it's here.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to try to turn this into a positive, right?
Yep.
I'm going to try to spin this around into something that has positive momentum as opposed to bringing me down.
Yeah. And I think at the sort of most macro level with this, treating it as a positive would be sort of the yin and yang, or the both sides of the coin of, you've got the envious or jealous kind of emotion, but then you've got the competitiveness. Like, can you turn that envy into a positive sort of competitiveness? And not competitiveness in terms of I want to beat them, but I'm competitive to really produce something great, to really grow myself. So like when you said you're going to take and learn from Christian McBride's, like, what is it about that? Then how does it apply to you? Not how can I take him down, or how can I imitate him, or how can I use my envy to try to you know, get better. But it's like, how can I actually look at that and be like, well, what can I apply to making my thing? Like, that's such a mature way and potentially productive way of looking at something.
Yeah, well, what it does is it turns it from, I got to beat this person or I'm going to compete with them, to this is inspiring me.
Yeah.
For my own thing,
Yeah.
right? So now I'm inspired to like work on this thing, or like I see what they're doing. I'm inspired to get to that level. I'm going to, you know, but it doesn't mean that you have to, you know, again, want to try to compete with them or change yourself or say like, well, I'm not as good as them. None of that is true, by the way. None of that is true.
No.
It's all circumstantial. It's all conditional. And so you can control some of those conditions. The first thing you can control is how you react to these feelings.
Yeah.
And so if you try to stuff them down, or if you try to change yourself or beat yourself up for it, that is an endless cycle. But if you work on and practice, and it is a practice, it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
But if you practice, like, maybe I can have some acceptance around this feeling. I'm going to feel like this.
Yeah.
We all feel like this.
Yeah.
I can still be me, and I can use this as inspiration. And now I have 600,000 in my sights.
Right.
And that wasn't there a year ago.
Oh, wait, let me see.
Okay,
Now he's up to
see,
like
and
600. He's
it
up to
doesn't-
630,000.
It doesn't help that I have a friend like Peter.
With friends like me, who needs enemies?
No, but I'm fine with that, because I'm like,
Frenemies.
okay, well, here's something to shoot for.
Yeah.
Like, I love this. This is great. And also, I've just learned, because I have, you know, all the information about the video.
Yeah.
I'm learning a bunch of what can make a great video. So
Yeah, and I think that like once we can connect ourselves to something bigger than, like, the smallest way to look at what our potential, you know, artistic output and impact on the world could be is to just think about ourselves, right?
Yep.
And then you could go a little bigger and be like, well, I'm going to think about my trio or my group or my company or my organization or my nonprofit, or, like, you know, in a family standpoint of just my smaller family. But then when you look at the bigger family, the cousins and the grandparents, and then you look at the community, the city that you live in, and then you look at the country, like, there's all these ways we can restrict ourselves, but the ultimate level is connecting with all of humanity potentially. But I think that even if we think of, say, within the jazz world, like, you've got like the pianists, and then you've got like the New York Cats or whatever, but like, how do you get to the point where you're celebrating the success and really authentically being a part of that? Like, because I can remember you know, when I was coming up, like, different pianists, Eric Reed, Brad Meldau. I mean, these are all guys that are like my exact same age. Renee Rosnes was already like established in New York when I got there, but she was somebody where I was like, damn. Like, and I used to think about it more like, I'm good. How come I can't get to that? But then I would start comparing, and we talk about, you know, comparison and jealousy and all these things are the thief of joy. You can insert your whatever.
Yeah.
But the competitiveness is not necessarily a thief of joy, but envy is definitely the thief of joy.
As long as the competitive is not embodied in you as a person. I'm bad because I didn't reach this, or I'm not good because I didn't do that.
But when you start getting in that thing of like, I deserve this because I'm this, like, that's a dangerous place to be. And then you're always going to find comparisons where you can belittle somebody else and be like, well, they shouldn't have that because, and look, Have I been accused and guilty of that? For sure.
Well, every human being has.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
It's kind of what we're hardwired to do in a sense, but there's a higher level to that whatever however you want to get into this. But one thing that I'll just add for this, when you really break this down, is you're envious of someone because of something you perceive to be happening for them that you want to happen for you. And why do you want this thing to happen? Because you think that you're going to be happier as a person or more fulfilled if you had that happen. But just know, too, there's someone looking at you right now that thinks that they would be happier. I would be so happy and fulfilled if I was just Peter Martin.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would be so happy and fulfilled if I was Adam and had a Sugar Chords video or whatever. But that's obviously, it's just a never-ending, hedonic treadmill that we can get on, where we're just constantly spinning our wheels there. What happens is, if you can, again, really work on the acceptance of your situation, and this goes musically, what in life and business, the acceptance of you, and you're okay as you are, then you get to have fun. And then you get to, then you can be competitive. It has nothing to do with your value as a human. You're still deserving of love and respect. And you can just play. And that's when you hear people like Chick or Herbie or Ahmad Jamal talk about music and the things they create, I get the sense that they are super comfortable with wherever and they not always have.
And I know all of them were competitive against each other.
Of course, but it was not like, you don't get the feeling that if Herbie lost the Grammy to Chick, he'd be like, well, I'm terrible.
Right.
Like, it's fun because they've realized that their worth is not based on these superficial, artificial, arbitrary results that we put on ourselves.
But I know a lot of people are listening to this and saying, oh, well, Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock, Herbie loses a Grammy to Chick. That's easy for them because they both won Grammys. They're at that top level. Of course, it's easy to say, but you don't get to that level.
They have that already.
Yeah.
They are who they are because they have that attitude.
And it's not because they have the Grammys. It's because at a certain point, they crossed over that Rubicon of like, I'm doing this and I'm going to be the greatest, to like service of like, I have something to share. Why is Herbie why was Chick Corea up until he passed? And big shout out Chick Corea, who just had his birthday a couple days ago, Gemini in the house. But why is Herbie out here still playing? Why is Ron Carter out here still doing stuff when they don't have to? Because they're serving. They're serving community and they get joy out of that. Their prize is to be able to know that, first of all, they're having fun what they're doing, not because they're like, ugh, I'm competing against whoever, but because, and look, Ron Carter could have stopped competing a long time ago if he's just thinking about that against other bass players. But it's kind of like, how do you serve? There's a quote, I don't know who this is from, I'm forgetting now. Sorry for not giving it its proper due, but you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So like, once you're really trying to be envious and competitive at a small level, you're gonna win. You might win, but it's gonna be a small prize. Once you start to think bigger about things, then you can win some great prizes, which is like that joy and satisfaction of serving and helping others, if that's through entertaining, if that's through teaching, if that's through whatever, through uplifting. So I look at like the jazz community as like any time something great happens, I'm a part of that.
Yeah.
And it's fun then.
That's right.
It's like, I don't have to be the one playing. I know when it's my time to get up there and play, I got to serve and I got to deliver, but sometimes it's going to be somebody else. Sometimes it's going to be somebody younger. That's a great thing. That means that the humanity that comes from this music is going to continue, and we can all celebrate that.
And there's no external accomplishment that you can achieve that's going to make you feel that way.
Right.
It comes from within.
Right.
Like, and you can, Mari, the good news is you can have this right now. Like that feeling you think you will get if you are on top of the mountain. Yeah. You can already achieve that feeling with acceptance of where you are. And then you get to shoot for the top of the mountain with ease.
Right. And I'll just say one, I'm just kind of putting this together. I'm glad we talked about this, but Jeff Keyser is another pianist that we're about the same age. And when I was coming up, I was definitely like envious of.
Yeah.
Because, he got the gig with Art Blakey. I wanted that gig.
Yeah.
Got the gig with Betty Carter. No,
so a lot of pianists that are envious of Jeffrey Keyser.
Ray Brown. Yeah. Which I did play with Ray once. But the idea of like, it continues on potentially forever. Like Jeff Keyser just won his first Grammy as his, for his own project.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it till just now, but I'm a little bit like,
it's a little surprising.
Well, it's surprising that that it's happened, but I also was just like, wow, I remember when that happened, I was just like, I want to do that. I wasn't at all envious, but I was a little competitive in terms of like, I want to try to get a Grammy, but it's another one of those not stupid games, stupid prizes, but like not necessarily for that, but like I want to have my work out there where it would be considered in that way. So it inspired me in a way that I think is really positive. It's like keep making music, keep putting your stuff.
I just want to clarify.
The prize is not the Grammy.
I meant it was surprising that he hadn't won one until now.
Right.
Not that it's surprising that he got one.
Totally.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this was great. Thanks, Mario, for the great question.
Yeah. Thank yourself for putting yourself out there for something that we all deal with on different levels and that we need to talk about more.
A very courageous voicemail left. And just, at the end of the day, just be kind to yourself first and foremost as you're going through this because it's hard for all of us.
That's right.
Till next time.
You'll hear it.